Today, we're going to peel back the layers of history to explore a place that sort of shines through time, even when you can't see it on a map. We're going to tell the story of a land called Kwangdeok-myeon, and it all kicks off with a simple but really profound question. So let's just start with this idea, because it gets right to the heart of what we're talking about. How can a place, a real piece of land with centuries of real history, exist almost entirely in someone's memory? Okay, so take a look at this map. This shows a county, Kaepung in modern-day North Korea. The historic area we're diving into, Kwangdeok-myeon, is right here. But, as you can probably see, on a modern map like this one, its name, its very identity is just gone. It's become a ghost on the landscape. And for the families who lived there for generations, it's become something else entirely. It's been transformed into what the historical records call a homeland in memory. And that powerful idea is exactly what we're going to unpack today. To really get how a place becomes a memory, we have to go way, way back. Long before any modern borders, this piece of land was a super important strategic crossroads, and its story starts thousands of years ago. Archaeologists have found all sorts of things in the area: polished stone arrowheads, axes, pottery. But what's really fascinating are the dolmens. These are massive stone tombs from the Bronze Age. Finding so many of them tells us this wasn't just some random settlement. It was home to an organized society with some kind of political structure thousands of years ago. All right, now let's jump forward in time to when these powerful kingdoms started popping up on the Korean peninsula. Because of this area's location, it was perfect for transportation and had a great climate. It basically became the prize that everybody wanted. So during the Three Kingdoms period, it was just a constant tug of war. At first, it was part of the DrJBHE&M kingdom, but then the powerhouse from the north, Goryeo, swept down in the 4th and 5th centuries and just took it. For years, it was this really tense borderland, a critical transportation hub that saw endless conflict. Goryeo even renamed it from Dongbihol to Jongju, basically stamping their authority on this piece of contested ground. But the region's true golden age, well, that came with a brand new dynasty, Goryeo. And suddenly, this fought-over borderland became the very heart of the entire kingdom. The key to its sudden importance was simple: location, location, location. When Hwanggeon founded the Goryeo Dynasty in 918, he made the city of Kaesong the capital, which was right next door. All of a sudden, Kwangdeok-myeon was in the center of all the action. As you can see on this timeline, its status just skyrocketed, first becoming direct royal territory, then getting bumped up to a special city. But its fortunes were tied directly to the dynasty, so when the kingdom faced rebellion and invasion, its status came crashing down. You can almost think of it as the royal backyard. It was right there, supplying the court with everything it needed. It was also close to Gyeokrang-do, a huge international port, so trade was flowing and the area was wealthy and vibrant. The Goryeo kings absolutely loved it here. They'd come to stay for months at a time to hunt and write poetry.
But there was another, more mystical reason it was so important, and it all comes down to this concept: Feng Shui divination theory. This is the belief that the physical landscape itself, the shape of the mountains, the way the rivers flow, holds a spiritual energy, or qi, that can literally determine the fate of a person, or even an entire dynasty.
And according to the prophecies at the time, Kwangdeok-myeon was one of the most auspicious, most powerful sites in the entire kingdom. The energy here was believed to be just incredible. Acting on this belief, King Munjong actually built a royal pavilion right here because he was convinced that tapping into this land's energy would guarantee his dynasty's prosperity for generations to come. But of course, dynasties don't last forever, and when they fall, the places they favored often fall with them. As Goryeo gave way to the new Joseon dynasty, the region entered a time of massive upheaval. So the people of the Kaesong area, including Kwangdeok-myeon, had been at the center of power for 500 years. They were fiercely loyal to the Goryeo kings. So when the new Joseon dynasty took over, they resisted. And the new king, Yi Song-gae, did not take that lightly. As punishment, he banned men from the entire Kaesong region from taking the civil service exams for a full century, basically cutting them off from any path to power. And this map brilliantly illustrates how that power shift was literally drawn onto the landscape. This is a map from that time showing how the new rulers split the core Gyeonggi province into a left and a right circuit. Kwangdeok-myeon got placed in the right circuit, Gyeonggi-udo, as part of this huge administrative reshuffling designed to cement the new dynasty's control. The Joseon dynasty was all about organization, and they rolled out a new system to manage everyone, right down to the neighborhood level. It's actually pretty simple. At the bottom, you have the tong, a little group of maybe 5 households. A bunch of tongs made up a ri, which is basically a village. And then several villages grouped together formed a myeon, a township. And that's where Kwangdeok-myeon gets its name as an official unit. This chart really sums up the wild roller coaster of the region's political fortunes. Under the Goryeo kings, it was a special city, Sungchanbu. During the Mongol invasions, it got downgraded to a county, Hapun-gun. And under the Joseon, it was merged and reorganized into Pungdeok-gun. You can just see how its status was constantly shifting with the political tides. The last pieces of its modern identity were locked in during the Japanese occupation. In 1914, as part of a nationwide administrative change-up, the name Kwangdeok-myeon became official. Then in 1930, it was rolled into the brand-new county of Kaepung. This is the name it would carry into the most turbulent chapter of its entire history. And that brings us to the 20th century, and to the one single event that severed this physical place from its people, turning a living home into a memory preserved in historical records. It happened with just shocking speed. After liberation from Japan in 1945, the 30th parallel was drawn, and Kwangdeok-myeon ended up in South Korea. But then, of course, the Korean War started in 1950. And when the fighting finally paused with the 1953 armistice, a totally new line was drawn on the map, the military demarcation line. And just like that, Kaepung and Kwangdeok-myeon with it was on the other side. It was now part of North Korea. And that line wasn't just a border, it was an uncrossable barrier. A community that had lived on that land for thousands of years was cut off from their homes, their fields, their ancestors' graves, literally overnight. And so here we are, full circle, back to this map. Today, Kwangdeok-myeon is what's officially known as an unrecovered land. It's a real place, just across a heavily fortified border. But for generations of people, it is totally physically inaccessible. It stays vivid only in their memories and in the historical records we've just been looking at. Which leaves us with one last really fascinating question to think about. If a place is ultimately defined not just by its soil and its streams, but by the stories, the memories, and the history of its people, can it ever really, truly be lost?